Hey YouTube. So I'm Jonathan here, and I'm gonna record some Blitz chess videos, some amateur chess here. I'm UCF around 1600, which sort of matches my Blitz score here. Anyway, it seems like everybody else is posting these videos on from chess.com onto YouTube, so I kind of wanted to jump on the bandwagon. So I need to start thinking about this because I'm already sort of out of book. So it looks like if he were to play like knight f6 and e5, that we would be in a king's Indian. So I think that we're going to sort of try to play the position that way. All right, so he's not going to do that. So I've seen this kind of deal. They developed this really small center, and sometimes they put the knight on e7. I'm just going to kind of develop normally and see what happens. Eventually, he's going to have to play either c5 or e5. I don't know which. But just go ahead and castle. Maybe play for e5 myself. I'm not sure what a5 is about. Maybe he wants to stop b4. Maybe. Let's pin him. And then I'll play queen d2 next. Okay, so he quickly gets out of the pin, and also seems like he puts some extra punch against me playing the e5 move, which I was thinking about doing. All right, so castles. Do I want to play bishop h6 now? I could, because if he takes, I take back with the queen. He's going to have some problems with knight g5 because he chose to put the knight on e7 instead. Man, sometimes I get this notation stuff backwards. I also maybe could play e5 because if I take e5, he takes, I take back, I take, and if he takes with queen, then the knight hangs. Or maybe I could say maybe I could take on e7 and then play e5. But I don't think I want to do that. I don't want to trade the bishop. I'd rather trade this bishop for each other. Let's go ahead and do that. Okay, so he's apparently not worried about that as a problem. Okay, so I'm thinking about playing h4, but I kind of feel like I should do something with my rooks or clarify the center in some way. I still would like to play e5, but that's not a possibility yet. I also like that my pawn on e4 stops him from coming out to f5, which is nice. We're going to bring a rook to the center. Where's the better place to do that at? Kind of a good rule of just lining up with the queen. Maybe play... I don't really see d5 being a great move. But d5 would definitely... We'd have to trade some set of pawns in some way. So just the principle of needing to develop and getting kind of low on time already, I've devoted half my time to the first 12 moves. Maybe I need to be quiet and play more. Less talk. A little less talk, a lot more action or something. Isn't that how it goes? Okay, so he's apparently worried about knight g5. I'm going to bring the other rook into the center. I'm thinking about playing d5 still, so okay. But now that lets me play the that lets me play e5 like I wanted. I still have d5, and you can't stop me from doing that. I'm going to do it. It was my plan. If he plays e5, that's probably good. Okay, but I'm going to get a Moroxy-Bind type situation here. But he had to take with the pawn so that he can press, but it seems definitely like putting the rook on e1 was the wrong idea. So he guards it. Okay, so I have the c5 idea. I'm play c5, and if he pushes, he can't really push past it. He could just take it though. But then I'll play knight a4 and I'm going to get it back. And then I'll have an isolated pawn on c6. So let's do that. Thus is my idea. And I've got the e file and I'm going to have good play on the c file. So I think this idea is going to work out for me. Okay, so he says you can take the pawn on c6, but I'm going to... I don't see what this is going to hurt. Do you? Can you guys give me advice? Does that work this way? Actually, I can trap the bishop if he takes on a2. Because the knight will cover b3. And I will just, if he takes a2, I'll just play b3. And I will have won the bishop. And I'm threatening to take on e6 now anyway, and double his pawns there, which I don't think he wants. So I'm pretty happy with my position right now. I think I'm definitely better. It's just kind of a clock management issue. Okay, so I want to know if I can take on e5. I don't think so, because I think he just takes the bishop there, and I don't see a good in-between move. I don't really want to trade bishop for knight, so I think I'm going to play here, come back out to d3, and do that way. Okay, now I can put the knight on d3. I think that's a better square for it anyway. And I will continue to try to put pressure on c6. Okay. Very low on time, though. Getting very low on time. Let's solidify that pawn. I'll put the king on h1. That's a useful move either way. Just getting it off the open diagonal in case that becomes a problem later. So let's go attack a5. And I'll come into c3 to attack the pawn on e5 again. So if he plays like rook a8 or something, then I'll come up and attack the e5 pawn. It's nice because he's not really going to get anything against b2. Okay, so that just, no, it doesn't quite drop a pawn because the rook is pinning the knight. So let's go here, and now we're double attacking that pawn. I don't see what he can do about that. Getting very low on time though. Starting to get nervous about that. Good thing we got that 2-second delay though. That will help me a lot if I get into some sort of a completely won end game. That's why I like that, so that I have I can live on the delay or the increment. I do that to myself far too much. Okay, so he says to me that if you take on e5, I'm going to take on b2. That's what he's telling me. So let's change that for him. He can't even bring a knight back to protect e5 because I'll just trade it and then take there. I think trading queens is probably okay for me. I'll probably do that just because of the time situation. Yeah, okay. So, oh, not so. Yeah, it's okay. Yeah, it's okay. I was worried. I thought that, oh no, he's gonna have, sorry, I'm calculating faster than I can talk. So it seems like that we may end up with some problems somewhere along the line here. No, maybe not. Okay. Let's do this. That's going to force one trade of knights because of the attack on the queen. And he has to. Oh, it's going to get a discovery and win the queen too. That's awesome. Okay. Okay, so he can't capture there. So we're going to capture here, force his queen to take, and then I'm going to do, see if I can get a nice. Okay, that's okay. I'm going to get it. I'm going to end up the exchange up here because it's pinned, and we get this. So I release the exchange, and let's go down here and play rook or queen d7 and try to force a queen trade. Man, I like to put myself in time pressure, don't I? Love to do that to myself. Just creating a little lift, and then I'll play up to here, threatening to play queen e6 and win the knight. He does not have a perpetual check. Resignation. He should not have resigned. I only had 13 seconds. Although I'm pretty happy about that. I was threatening queen e6, and then the king was going to have to move somewhere, and I probably would have ended up winning the knight in some fashion, somewhere. Anyway, let's analyze the game a little bit and see how we went here. All right, so the c6 kind of leaves himself with some choices. I mean, he could have played d5 and we could have got a Slav, or he could play g6 and then go for I don't know. I guess it seems like that c6 is really only going to port d5, but he didn't play it. So there's some lines in the King's Indian where they play c6 later. But this seems a little early. But anyway, we get this sort of King's Indian E type position. King's Indian E. So I just developed normally and decided here to trade the direct square bishops. And then rather than take some sort of concrete action or start forcing the pawns to open, like playing d5 or e5 was impossible, or playing d5 right now, I decided to get my pieces kind of in the middle of the board. This rook fe1 didn't end up being that great of a move, but I thought that that if we ended up with some sort of a double exchange, so if I thought that if he took this way and I took back, that we'd end up with an open e file. Which is why I played the rook on e1, because it seemed like if I played d5, it seemed like the d file would be the file that was not going to be opened, and so I would try to end up with a rook on each file that was open. But it turned out the way it went that maybe that wasn't such a great move, because he played e5, went right past it, and then I took on c6 because that left us with he's gonna have problems with the d5 square, or if not the d5, then at least the e6 pawn, which maybe I encouraged that by putting the rook on e1, but it ended up being giving me an actual target to play against. So I immediately went and attacked that pawn, and which forced him to defend it. What was the best way for him to defend? Because he can't play d5, because d5 is definitely a weak square for him. I have it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times now, and he actually has it 1, 2, 3 times. He maybe could have played. Oh wait, he still has to deal with the e6 pawn. I think I don't like that. Cuts his rook off. Better would have been just to put the rook on. I think this would have been much better. So I could have done this, and now he can't even take it because of this. So maybe not. So he would have had to have done, after I played c5 now, he would have had to have played like this move, or maybe he could he play d5? Yes, maybe so, because he's going to get, yeah, he could have done this. That would have worked better for him, I think. because I have maybe to worry about the C pawn. Although I have a passed C pawn, but he's got the passed D pawn. But I'm definitely a little better developed here. Maybe that move comes to mind. They're putting it on D6, so the queen has to go somewhere. Maybe here, and then I get to put it on D6, which that looks pretty nice. Even so, I don't like the knight coming back to E8. I don't think that was a good move. So this was a nice pawn sack. Now he can't play this because it really does lose a pawn, which is nice. So and he doesn't have any way to bring another defender to the pawn now because he shut his own rook out, which means that I'm going to be able to win that pawn, which sort of forces him to take it. But then I immediately win it back with a much better pawn structure. And so I spent way too long trying to decide if this was good for him. But after this, I think I'm pretty happy. The best he can really do at this point is to take, and I will take back, and maybe this A pawn might cause me some trouble, but I'm up a piece. I can't be that upset about it. So, but instead, he plays bishop out to g4, and what I didn't want to do is something like this. Oops. Because this bishop here looks pretty terrible, and I'm going to have to waste a move to get it back into the action where I want it. And I just think the knight's a better piece here because the way I put it on d3, it was pressuring the e5 pawn and supporting the knight on c5. So I think it was just a better piece, especially because of my pawn on the light square. So I was pretty happy with this knight e1 idea. He takes, and then so this is pretty normal. I wasn't exactly sure how to proceed here, but so I just kind of made some moves I thought were useful while I was deciding where to go next. He continues to defend the pawn, so I came up with this idea of it hitting on e5, which he didn't really do anything to resolve. Again, just playing kind of slow. I'm not really worried about him playing a4 and breaking this up because of this knight on c5, which is kind of a monster in the position. He probably should have considered trading it off, but if he had, I can just replace it. So, and this knight on e7 ends up being just terrible because of my pawn on e4. So here I just win a pawn, and I think he thought he had some nice tactic here, which he kind of did. I didn't really work all this through. So, what happened here? Oh, yes. So, what I was saying is if he takes here, I won the queen because it's check, so he can't do that. And so instead he took right there, which wins. Oh, wait, why didn't I just take the knight directly? Like this. It's just been up the exchange there. I didn't really have time to calculate, so I played kind of a crazy move anyway. So I played. Oh, because that's okay. Because he didn't take there with the. he played that move, which seemed tricky. Because if I try to move the rook now, or move my knight, I can't. So this kind of bottles me up. But I found this, which forces he's got to take. He can't take with the king, I don't think, or perhaps he should. Yeah, if he takes with king, do I have a useful discovered check? It doesn't look like it. His rook and his knight are just nicely guarding or on awkward squares, so I can't do anything. But I can really draw his king out in the open with. So if we just take, he has to play like maybe something like this, and then I would check. But he can go back now. Maybe I just win another pawn. I can just do like that and just be better. Maybe come out like here. He's gonna come back. Yeah, I think I'm probably just okay here. I mean, I'm up a lot of extra pawns, I guess. But instead, I said he took here. I guess not realizing that I had this move. After here, he drops the exchange actually, which is nice. And gonna try to win that piece. Just making myself a little room. Just I don't know, really low on time, and just wanted to make sure that I didn't end up getting mated there. And then just resigns. So anyway, ended up being a nice game. So I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye.